Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pops Wrestling. I almost got the names mixed up because I was thinking about mine. My fault. Huge Pop Wrestling. We got Huge Pop and we got boy Nikki D, and we would like to welcome the man of the hour, Mr. Marco Corleone, Mr. Mark Jindrak.
In La Casa, in the house.
Yeah,
What's up,
buddy.
How's it going?
Oh man,
Good.
it's
How you
going
doing,
good.
man?
It's going good. Thank you for being here. Really
No,
appreciate
thank you.
it.
Please excuse me. I might be a little rusty. I don't do many like podcasts anymore that have been out of the game, so might be a little rusty, but
Well, hey, I just mixed up titles, so it's okay.
Well,
that's cool.
I can tell you right now, I fanboyed when Rico said that he knew you and he was talking to you about coming on the show. So I was like, so I'm going to be real. I marked out, I guess I could say.
I appreciate it, man. No, Rico, when I found out about his passion for wrestling, like I need to be around people that like wrestling was never my first passion. I loved it as a kid. I watched it during the era of like Hulk Hogan and the character stages in the 80s, the Coco Bewares, the Jake the Snakes and stuff, but until I joined wrestling and started wrestling, I really didn't watch it anymore. I didn't have that. I always wanted to be a basketball player or other sport, like wrestling. I think I was a wrestler because I liked it, but I was a good athlete and I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 just yet,
Yeah.
Talking about basketball, man, I have that highlight that I showed on the video I made. Dude, you got hops.
Yeah, that was at the 2004 Super Bowl in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a celebrity game. R. Kelly was on my team. It was me and Lance Cade, Garrison Cade. I don't remember what he went by last. Rest in peace. It was my ex-partner that died. I invited him. I got on this celebrity game and R. Kelly was on our team.
You threw it down, man, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's pretty sick."
Yeah, I watch you when you're doing a little 360, just come down, bah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So we don't need to talk about wrestling. We can talk about basketball, I guess.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll talk about basketball all day long.
Yeah, I love basketball. In fact, I'm dying. It's not going right now. It's over with, and it's kind of like the dead spot in sports. I like baseball. I love baseball, but my Yankees are kind of shit in the bed, and can't wait for football to come. But I don't want to wait football to come too quick because that means the summer's over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what you need to come to my neck of the woods. We play basketball over here.
Oh, man. I that's my first passion. I played in college. I played college basketball. It was Division III, but I'm so banged up now. Like I'm out of camera, but I've been wearing like this back brace once every 3 months. I throw my back out, or some nerve is touching, or something's not aligned right, and it's just for 2 to 3 days. It's bad, and if I don't put this back brace on, I'll literally feels like someone stabbed me in the side. So. Unfortunately, right now my body, they're cashing, my body's cashing those checks that I wrote when I was in my 20s and 30s.
Yep. Now the bumps and everything caught up to you.
Yeah. And and to be honest with you, like I was one of the wrestlers that stayed in like tip top shape throughout. Even now I still stay in pretty good shape. Like I run miles, like 3 to 5 miles a week and stuff. And, I stay under it. Like I stay right at just under 8-minute miles. And, I'm 46 years old. So
very good.
I'm still in good condition and stuff. But, I can't imagine with some of the guys I wrestle with that are a little older than me or same age that didn't take care of themselves. I just, I can't imagine, because honestly, that's the key. That's the key for us. Like Chris Jericho kind of doesn't look that good now, physically, but like that dude's got longevity because he's
still
smart.
be in it.
Yep. And he's always taking care of his body and stuff. And, so it's cool to see.
Gotcha. Well, let's go ahead and start off with the wrestling talk now. So I wanted to hear it from your mouth, man, because I always hear their stories and stuff. What was it really like training under Paul Orndorff? Like, how did that go for you? Nope, we lose it.
Yep. I think it's froze.
Way to go, Reek. One question killed it.
One question. You know, we started talking about wrestling, and he's like, "Nah, it's you guys."
Reek, you asked the wrong question, man.
Yeah.
You just killed the whole interview right there.
Right. It was like
I started it off bad, and I just killed it.
Paul Orndorff, and he's like,
nope. Hey, there we go. There we go. He's out. Nope.
Like,
you asked the wrong question. Way to go.
Why talk about Paul Orndorff? Why do we got to talk about him? Man, we'll have to apologize, Nikki D, when he gets back on here. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So everybody here, Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Our guest will be back. I have a feeling he technical difficulties, but we will get this show on the road. We've already introduced him. It's Mark Jindrak. Talked about him playing basketball, and we're gonna get right into the wrestling once he shows back up. But I know below me I have Nikki D and Reek. So Monday Night Raw, while we're waiting, Monday Night Raw, that was some high spots, and I didn't watch it, so I heard about some stuff. So,
you know, I didn't watch all of it. Is because I had a lot of studying and stuff I was doing, but I was trying to pay attention to it. Now, what I did notice was Liv and Raquel, you know, losing them tag team titles.
Yeah, and
to Chelsea and Sonya.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Well, it makes sense in a way because that's now going to free up Raquel to go against Rhea Ripley, and that's like we said a couple of weeks ago.
We did, but didn't we say that it would take more time though?
Yeah, I think it's quick. It happened quick, so I agree.
Yeah, it's very quick. I don't know.
Yeah, it did go very quick. But
yeah,
man,
I almost don't know if she's ready yet. But
Nikki D, did you get to watch it yet?
Only some highlights.
I'll let you both watch the ending because that was good. That main event was good.
Right.
What, the ending of the whole show?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and I get it. Did they do it because I mean, is Rhea Ripley going to be the same thing as Roman Reigns? You're going to throw these people up against him, no matter. You're not going to have any build up, and then she's going to mow through it. So I don't know, but here he is again. So this time, talk wrestling, okay, Rick?
Hey, I'm back.
All right, so there you go.
I was like, man, I asked one question, and he's like,
nope. He asked the wrong question. We would like to apologize on his behalf.
Rico went like, who's about to ask the question? Okay, get the rest.
All right, Rico. Can we do
I didn't know.
Again?
I didn't know what he was doing. I'm playing.
All right, come on, Rick. Ask the right question this time.
I was asking about Paul Orndorff. What is the real story? How it was training underneath him?
To be honest, like the guy was a legend, you know, in his own right. But like sometimes the better wrestler, the better legend, the bigger legend it's hard for them to train. That makes any sense. Like in football, I hate to always refer back to sports, but like guys like Mike Singletary retires and becomes a coach. He kind of sucks. Like Michael Jordan, he kind of sucks as an owner, you know, like some of the great ones have a hard time, like, you know, so I just think that might be the case you know, that might be the case because like he could tell us stuff, but like it was just different times, you know, like he was in programs like Hulk Hogan and stuff. And like, it's just, we wrestle, anybody could wrestle against Hulk Hogan, you know, at that time. He was super hot, you know, like, and that's actually, you guys know the reason that's why Orndorff's arm is it was always skinnier than the other one.
Oh yeah.
He had a neck injury. Okay. Yep. And he should have gotten it fixed, but he was in this program with Hogan. And when you're in a program with Hogan, you don't want to, I mean, those guys wrestle 300 days a year. You don't want to those are big paydays. You know, you're getting the fucking big payday. You're against Hogan in the main event every single night. And that's, you know, I can tell you as being a wrestler, like where you're positioned in the card is a lot of times what they base your guarantee, your, you know, nightly payoff off the crowd. It's off the crowd, but depending on where your match is during the show, you know, so I'm sure he was making some good coin and just didn't want to get off but as a trainer, you know, like he could tell us about stories and stuff that would help us. But like, I didn't think he was the best trainer, in my opinion. And God rest his soul, like awesome wrestler, the most respect for him. But like, me personally, like I learned better. It's a tough thing to do, and like for a trainer, it's just like it comes, like it just came so easy for him, and he's a legend. Like he just expects us to know it like right away. So I think some of these legends have less patience, I guess, less patience. And so there was other guys, like there was other guys that would come in, like Mike Graham, who else? Like sometimes Dean Malenko would come in, like guys that were more patient. They knew they see wrestling more as an art form, and they know how to articulate their training and stuff. And Orndorff was just an ass kicker, like he's just period, and sometimes those guys, it's like, how does a savage tell another person, normal man, to be a savage unless they're a savage? Now, some guys responded well to that, like I think Sean O'Hara, my ex-partner, God rest his soul as well. He trained well with Paul, but me, I needed more of like I like slow learning, especially in wrestling. There's not really any, we're not doing it on crash pads and stuff. You're taking bumps, and you fall one wrong way on the mat, and you can be out for a week with a weird, throwing your arm out or separate your shoulder or something. So,
Yep.
But a great guy, but just I think he could have. I think I've had better trainers in my career.
Now you trained at the power plant, correct?
I did, and and also I trained at the power plant. That's part one. But like when I signed with WWE right away, when they took over WCW, within months they put me in OVW, and you guys know the famous OVW camp at that time. Like it had Orton, Cena, Batista, Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, myself, O'Hare, Queen Victoria, Jackie Gata, John Heidenreich, the Basham brothers, Nick Densmore, like just the list goes on. It was the next 5 to 10 to 15 years of stars at OVW, and here's the thing, WCW, the power plant, I felt like at the power plant I was in really, really good shape. We did squats and all the calisthenics all day, and it was, yeah, we were in ring shape and stuff, but I think we were still green coming over to WWE. That's why they threw us in the developmental camps. And I feel like that system where I was in OVW helped me more, because Jim Cornette was there. Me personally, he hates me, and I kind of don't like him either. But I can't take away that the guy has a plethora of knowledge of the sport. And so learning when I was there and doing his TV, doing like old school TV and stuff.
Yep.
It was cool to kind of be a part of that stuff, So and that's kind of, I think, where I really learned how to work and do those WWE type matches.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right, Nikki D, you got a question you want to ask, man?
Yeah. The first one I was thinking of was, a lot of people, you said it wasn't your first passion. You played collegiate basketball and everything. So how young were you? I guess how old were you when you actually broke in? When you had your first match, when you took your first bump and all of that? Like what was your age?
Okay, I think I was probably right around 98. I think I was rated about 20 years old. I don't know if I'm doing the math right, but the way it worked out is I was a sophomore in college, and I was about to become a junior. And a couple of the guys I played basketball with, they decided they're going to go down to Florida, Orlando, to start their careers. They were in food service, and so they said, "Hey, Mark, why don't you come down for the summer? Help us drive the U-Haul, chill with us for the summer, go back up to school, start, in September, and, have a good time." I said, "Yeah, I like the idea." So I went down there, and actually when I got there, I needed to make some income. So and I didn't have a car because I drove the U-Haul. So we lived on International Boulevard, the main drag. and it was right near SeaWorld. So I got a job. I never waited tables before, but I got a job waiting tables at the Denny's across the street. It was SeaWorld Denny's.
Oh,
So I got a job there, and the deal was I got the graveyard shift, and nobody wanted the graveyard shift. So if I did the graveyard shift, then they'd give me the weekends off, which I could hang with my boys who, they're working 60-hour, 70-hour work weeks. So they only have the weekend to hang. So I don't want to be working when they can hang. So that was the deal. I worked the graveyard shift. So one night, these two guys come in. And at first, it was a little, I don't know. One guy was wearing like Daisy Duke type shorts. And the other guy was wearing, had like these, it just looked like it was a gimmick. Now that I know wrestling, it looked like a wrestling gimmick. And I didn't know it at the time. And I waited on them. And one was really chatty. And that was my boy. And I'm still friends with him now. He lives in Nashville, actually. His name was Barry Houston. That's who he went by. And the other guy that was there was Alex Wright. That's Wonder Kid. Okay.
Oh.
So Alex Wright didn't say anything. He was standoff. He really didn't say anything to me. He was just eating his food and chilling. Well, Barry was a little more talkative and stuff. And he said, "Man, you're a pretty tall dude. What do you do?" And I told him my spiel. I play basketball in college. And I'm about to go back to school. And he's like, "Oh man, you should give wrestling a try. Do you watch wrestling?" And I told him just what I told you guys a few minutes ago. Like I watched it during the 80s, when the first action figures came out, to the rock and wrestling cartoon, to all that stuff. I was saying my prayers, eating my vitamins, and but then once girls came along, and I just I put down the baseball cards and I put down the wrestling. It was like things of the past, kind of. But I remember the fond memories of all those characters, Mr. Perfect, the Rick Rudes, all that stuff, and so he tells me, we talk wrestling a little bit, and these guys are about to leave, and the whole time he was like, "Yeah, you should be a wrestler," and I was like, "Nah," and we just, nice to meet you, take it easy, be safe, blah blah blah. They left. Later that night, it was like 3 a.m. It was the dishwasher was in there, the chef was in there, and me, just us three. And I'm sweeping or something, and 2 kids come in. Well, I would say 2 kids, like 2 young adults, and they said, you got 4 quarters for $1. And I said, "Yeah, sure." I opened the register, and once I opened the register, I look up, and a gun's pointed at my head, and another guy's got like a metal steel pipe or something. He's like, "Give us all the money." And I was like, yeah, chill, take all the money. And it kind of happened quick. Like it didn't look like they were trying to do anything to me. I was just real standoffish, like, "Hey, take the money. I don't mean no harm, And they took the money, they dipped. So I thought that was kind of cool. Not cool, but like after it was done, I was too young to think, like, damn, I could have just gotten fucking shot, But the youth, you're like, "Oh, I'm in Orlando. I just got held up. Like, wow, I'm gonna go fucking tell my fucking friends."
Yeah.
So the police came, did a report and everything. So it was probably by 5 a.m. They let me go home. So I walked back home. Our apartment complex was like a 1/10 of a mile. So I'd walk. And now my roommate, who's about to go to work, he hasn't woken up yet. It's like I said, it's 5:30. So I figured, just let him sleep. I grab my towel and I'm going to go down to the community pool, jacuzzi area, just chill. I go down there. Lo and behold, the wrestler, Barry, he's in the pool. His girlfriend was staying in the same apartment complex that I stayed at. So he was visiting her. They're drinking. They're in the pool chilling. And now I tell him what happened. And he's more like, "Damn, you see, man, Mark, you could have gotten killed tonight. You see how short life could be and how precious it is. You got to try out for wrestling, man." And now, now I'm in the pool, my shirt's off, and like, by no means was I like jacked or anything, because I was playing basketball. I probably weighed like 225 pounds. But like, it was one of these, you could tell, like, if I worked out and maybe did a little juice that I had the physique. Like I had just a natural, like, 10-pack, and so I was really lucky and stuff. And so now he's seen me. He's like, "Man, you got to try out for wrestling." And he's like, "You know what? Forget about that. Like, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, tomorrow I gotta do help the police do the composite type drawing. Like draw the kid, like help him draw
Their sketch.
And, sketch, yes. I said, but besides that, nothing. He's like, okay. He goes, I'm sorry, something just popped up on the screen or something. Was that a message?
That was just a fan saying, "Hey."
Oh, that's okay. That's cool. So, he goes, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Nothing." So he goes, "Come on with me." And he took me down. They were filming. The reason why they're in town was they used to film. I think it was like those like lower WCW shows, like the Superstars of Wrestling or Saturday Night WCW. That shit. They filmed it in Universal Studios. Yep. That's why they were in Orlando. And he's like, tomorrow I'll come pick you up here at like 3:00. You're my invitee. I'm going to bring you to, the backstage. You can meet all the wrestlers in WCW. So he took me backstage, and the thing that was crazy was like, I just told you guys, like, I remember the nostalgia of the 80s and stuff. But if you remember, like when Turner took over WCW, he signed all those 80s characters.
He did.
And now they're in WCW. So I'm walking backstage. I'm seeing fucking Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I forget what he was, but he was in the NWO. He was another character. I forget. I saw Virgil.
Too, yeah.
I saw Virgil. I saw, who else? I saw rookie Goldberg. Goldberg was like a rookie. You know, he was like 10-0 or something. Like a few show matches. I met Booker T. I saw Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig.
Wow.
It was like wow, wow.
Wow.
So I was blown away, and actually the guy who's the main trainer that was at the power plant, his name is Sarge. He was like the power plant main trainer, Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. He did like something with Goldberg. He supposedly trained Goldberg, whatever, you know. So basically he used to do the ring crew. He would drive down to Florida, set up the ring, and then come back up and train, you know, a few days a week. And Barry introduced me. He goes, "Hey, Sarge, this is Mark. He's gonna try out the power plant next month." He goes, "Do your fucking squats." Just like that. I was like, fuck. And he was serious, because I went back a month later. And actually, I want to give another shout out to Barry. His name's Todd. Todd, I want to say Todd Passmore. He lives in Nashville. He paid for my tryout out of his own pocket, $300.
Wow.
And the deal is that the tryout, it costs $300 for everyone to try out, and if you leave on your own will, they don't pay you. They don't give you your money back. But if they tell you to leave, they'll give you money back. They told nobody to leave. Everyone left on their own will, you know, except for me. So I came back a month later to Atlanta, and I tried out my first day. Like, I think 26 guys were there. By day 2, there was only 3 left, me and 2 other guys. So that's how it was. Ridiculous. Squats, like 50 squats, and then push-ups, hold it halfway for like 15, 20 seconds, another 20 push-ups, squats, 50 more. Like, they completely murdered you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was ready for it, because after Sarge said, "Do your squats," I figured that was something I probably should fucking practice. So,
yeah.
So I came in ready, you know, and endurance and agility wise, you know, you saw the basketball video of me 360 dunking. Like, I was super agile, like a leaper. Like, so the fact that I was trained to do the squats, like, we'd go outside afterwards and run sprints. So these guys, you've never seen so many 300-pound muscle dudes just fucking fall to the ground because they have zero stamina, you know. Mm-hmm. And I was running like a gazelle, you know. This is, you know, I'm still basketball frame, 225 pounds.
You're a basketball player too.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
You were used to that.
So I was running like a gazelle, you know. So Dad pressed those guys, and you know, you look at me. At the time, I want to say I was like 20 years old. Like I would have been a junior in college. So yeah, I was about 19, 20 years old, and like, I would have only grown in my frame more, you know. So everything was going, and I tried out, and they actually, at the end of day 3, they invited me back. They said, you know, surviving this shows you got something, but apart from that, we like your look. You're tall, you know, you're a handsome dude. You know, we'd like to invite you back. So they invited me back, and I started training. I want to say 1998. So I was probably 21 years old, or 20. Take that back. I was 20 years old, because the following year is when we all signed contracts. April 7th, 1999 was when it was. So yeah, 1999, April 7th, 1999. So 98 is when I tried out, basically.
I spent like probably like 6 to 8 months until they eventually gave us all a power plant like contracts. Me, Chuck Palumbo, Elix Skipper, Alan Funk, Johnny the Bull, Sean O'Hare.
Yep.
So a slew of guys, you know. So
Wow.
yeah, that's basically and taking first bump. Like we did some like local shows out in like Nashville area, some Atlanta surrounding areas. You know, nothing big. Probably sometime in early '99. Probably did my first match. You know, like, but it was like probably in front of 20 people.
Yeah.
You know, taking bumps on a fucking boards, some
Yep.
boards and,
Yep.
and carpeting. I almost peed my. I took my first match. The finish was a tag match. The finish was a double choke slam. I swear to God, when I took that bump, I nearly peed my pants. The fucking ring was so hard. I nearly peed my pants. I hit a nerve or something. I was like, holy shit. So to answer your question, probably 1999 was around my first match.
Nice.
And also 1999 was my first like WCW match. We all got chances on that same Saturday night TV show.
Nice.
So
Very
my
nice.
first official match was against Disco Inferno.
Disco.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Disco Inferno. There you go.
Oh man.
Very cool.
First Nitro match. So me and Sean O'Hare, we teamed up and we got a Nitro. First Nitro was my birthday, June 26th, the year 2000. It was our first, and we beat Rey Mysterio and Juventud Guerrera.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And then they were the Filthy Animals, Conan, Ray, I think Billy Kidman, maybe they attacked us out there. We got the W, but they attacked us. But it was a nice debut. It was in Des Moines, Iowa.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Thanks for that story.
Oh yeah, man. so I was gonna ask you about the whole reflection of perfection phase you had there. Like, when did you come up with the whole Rick Rude like swaying of the hips and stuff?
To be honest, like that was always my favorite. Him and Kurt Hennig. You know, remember Kurt Hennig doing those vignettes where he'd throw the basketball full court and swish it?
One of my favorites, man. Catch the football after he threw it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just, you know, like I told you, I had like good like natural abs. I was always like I always wanted abs because my hero when I was a kid was Ivan Drago, you know, in Rocky IV.
Yep.
So I was always like a mark for abs, you know, and I had them, good genetics and stuff, and yeah, the reflection of perfection. So that actually came about with Stone Cold. Stone Cold Steve Austin helped me come up with that.
Really?
Yeah. So he basically he was like, kid, and he called me over. It was a catering, you know, before we have all day catering, lunch and stuff, and dinner and stuff. He's like, he was in there drinking a coffee, and I was in there fucking off and with Orton or doing something. And he called me over. He's like, kid, he's like, man, you got all the tools and stuff. He's like, your name Mark, you're just Mark Jindrak. He goes, at one point in time, I was just Steve Austin, you know. He goes, but yeah, it's Stone Cold or that or the Rattlesnake. Now you got something different, you know. And I was like, he goes, we got to come up with a moniker for you. And so he basically kind of gave me homework. He goes, come up with 10 different options and shit. And ideas. Just throw it, even if they sound stupid. If they sound stupid, just bring them next week to TV and we'll go over them. And I don't know where the fuck I came up with it, but like I said, Mr. Perfect. So I want to have like perfection in there. And I don't know, like I wanted to do the mirror thing, you know, with like, and I had it on, you know, for a while, but like it never really did anything on SmackDown. But like, so the reflection, like reflection of perfection, and he liked it. He goes, I like that. He liked that. And so they put Teddy Long with me as a manager, and it was actually some fun matches. And unfortunately, like I really didn't see the light of SmackDown Day. Like they had me on that secondary show, Velocity. Now I was the reflection of perfection was undefeated on Velocity. You know, like I was beaten. I had some good victories like every week. Billy Gunn, what's his name? Bob Holly, Scotty Too Hotty. Like I beat these guys every week, you know, clean. And so that was cool. You know, they're kind of keep me fresh but they never, my character never really they took me out of that gimmick, Reflection of Perfection, and put me with Angle and Luther Reigns before like anything ever got started on TV with it.
Yeah.
But I think if they would have put it on TV with Teddy Long as my manager, like it was pretty good. If you guys ever want to, go back on some of that old school 2004 Velocity, and like there's some matches with like Billy Gunn or like Scotty 2 Hotty, Billy Kidman.
I was watching
Bob
those.
Hot, like some of them pretty good, and they're fun matches and stuff. And I wish we got more of a chance, but at the time when they got something for you, like they put me with Kurt Angle, me and Luther Reigns. We started wrestling guys like every night, like Rey Mysterio, RVD. Our first tag match we beat. Who was it? It was RVD and Eddie Guerrero. I'm like, what? Like I just beat Eddie Guerrero and RVD, or it was on SmackDown, and and then I was just I was actually showing pictures of somebody of when on the 5th anniversary of SmackDown, we closed the show out by shooting Big Show with a tranquilizer dart and then shaving his head off. So he had hair until myself, Luther, and Kurt Angle shaved his head.
Yep.
And he's been bald ever since. Yeah. And it was kind of cool because Angle shot him with the dart. I must say this too, is like the Big Show, he got paid well the whole time he was in WWE and stuff. But man, because he's a fucking giant, they always protect him. He barely ever loses. They always kept him strong, if you notice. But like, dude, whenever it's time to punish him, man, they used to do some fucked up shit to him, like throw the steel stairs into his back. Like those weren't gimmicks, man. Like they throw the steel, like Angle would throw the steel, or like the dart. If you see that segment, like Angle shot him, it was gimmicked, obviously, but he got stuck with a dart. A dart stuck into him, So he played it off like I don't know, but we rehearsed it and he did it, and it came off good. He passed out and then Angle treated him like a big game, big game, and like
game
shaved his heads up. Yeah. So that was fun. So like, and that Angle, that whole thing, we had a lot of programs with, like I said, wrestled Eddie a lot, Rey Mysterio a lot. Like my best singles victory is I beat Eddie Guerrero on SmackDown one time. That was probably, and not to mention, when I was on SmackDown, I'll note like I just visited with Rey Mysterio. They came through Knoxville SmackDown, and I had dinner with him and stuff. And he's been a great friend of mine because like on SmackDown during those times, I traveled with him and Eddie Guerrero, and
nice.
those are my two best friends on the show at that time, So man, it's just weird because I became a star in Mexico, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but it was funny because after matches we'd leave the arena and we'd go find our hotel or restaurant or whatever, and those guys would call home and they'd be talking in Spanish, going "Hola," and I'd be mimicking them, like making fun, and like literally like years later, I'm living in Mexico. For 12 years, and Ray's wife, she'd always see me on those soap operas and stuff, the Mexican soap operas, and so. It's just crazy, but man, to be friends with those guys are fucking legends, man. Rey Mysterio awesome. I will say this: Rey Mysterio is the best dude. If there's anybody I've ever met, all the people I've ever met in my life, Rey Mysterio deserves the success more than anybody. That dude is a fucking legit dude. Like, take that. You won't find anybody to say anything bad about him. No. And if anyone does say anything bad about him, I'd question that person first.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate that, man. So huge pop. What you got, man?
Just to touch back on the WCW area, and I know, what I remember is when Shane McMahon showed up at Nitro and all this about Vince McMahon buying Nitro, etc., and then the closing of Nitro. What part of that were you involved in, and how did it affect your WCW career?
With the Shane McMahon stuff, like the crossover.
Yeah,
it actually it helped. It was actually pretty. I was one of 10 people that signed right away and came over to WWE. Like because a lot of guys, if you remember, a lot of the over guys had Ted Turner WCW contracts were all guaranteed, so they weren't going to take a buyout pennies on the dollar to go to WWE and like fight for position, just stay home and get a collect a paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the other guys were, WCW, their time was long due. It was over, you know, like they probably shouldn't even been on TV, but it was the good old boys, you know, like there was 85 people in the NWO and shit, you know, like
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah,
it was just
it
it
got
was
way
like
too big.
there's
Yeah,
way
yeah.
too much fat in that roster. Let's be honest. There was way too much. You know, they needed to trim the roster anyways. And
Mhm.
so the guys that get signed were the guys like myself, O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo, shit, you know, Hugh Morris. I think Stacy Keebler was there. Shane Helms, Buff Bagwell, Buff Bagwell.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It used to always crack me up.
Um, so basically, you know, like, so right away, the transition was right away, and eh, you know, what was kind of cool is what, like, we're the young guys, you know, and like the fact that O'Hare was there, Palumbo's there, like I was always had a security blanket. Like I didn't have to come on WCW TV by myself, you know, I was a tag team with O'Hare, and when we did those Saturday night TV shows, those smaller shows, all my boys were there, you know, and then when we had angles in deep into WCW when we finally got on TV, we were the Natural Born Thrillers. So we're doing all this shit together. Like,
Yeah.
so I ask you, you know, if you guys were young and we're changing schools, would you rather change schools by yourself? You go to a new school and sit there with your thumb up your ass the whole time, like fucking, or would you rather move there with your boys? You go there with your boys and take the shit over, you know. So
Yep.
Right.
I had that luxury. So now, you know, signing over with the WWE, I had a few of my boys still there. I was cool with Stacy Kuber. We were good friends with her. Shane Helms and I were always cool, you know. So it was a smooth transition. But you know, they it wasn't very long. Like they switched me over to OVW, myself and O'Hare, right, like almost immediately. So, and it was rightfully so. We were physical genetic freaks, and but we needed to learn how to work. We were very green, and you know,
Mhm.
WCW threw a lot of us on TV, like throwing Hail Marys up, you know, and we got some
Mhm.
good TV time, and that TV time allowed us to get signed by WWE right away, you know. So it was, to answer your question, Huge Pop. It was a good transition, you know.
Nikki D, you got a question, man?
Yeah, I was just gonna say because you got me thinking about that, where you started in the power plant and you trained with Orndorff. And Paul Orndorff, if I remember right, he was kind of like a territory guy. Okay. So
Yeah.
then when you went to OVW and Cornette was running, Cornette has a lot of history with territories. And so did that knowledge and everything of how to, like, how you work the crowd and how you do what the baby face is supposed to do and all these things, he's big on that stuff.
Yeah. Oh
Do
yeah.
you
Yeah.
feel like that helped you even more to get you ready to perform on live TV, even more than when you were training in the power plant?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And Cornette really only was around during TVs and stuff, so he kind of ran the TVs. It was Danny
Okay.
Davis, a trainer named Nightmare Danny Davis. Was I I didn't follow much of his career. I think it was more like of you know, when they had the what the fuck they called territories. When it was more territories, you know, he was around. He was a popular wrestler in a territory around there in Louisville and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
he ran the training camp every day and stuff. And like we got good because it was just repetition every day. Like every day we're in a camp. Imagine that with Cena and Lesnar and Batista, and we're running drills, you know. And you want to stick out. You know, we're all fucking alpha athletes, and you just want to stick out, you know. And Orton was there, you know, too. Like just, and then guys would come off the road, like who were injured or doing rehab and stuff, like, you know, and like what's his name, Godfather, the Godfather. He came out, you know, he was there for a while.
Oh wow.
So we just had a lot of people come through there. APA, you know, Bradshaw and Farouk,
Farouk.
they came through.
Yeah.
Billy Gunn came through. So you know, you get to learn with, you know, the stars. Whereas the WCW power plant, we were the first ones. They always claim like, oh, Goldberg and the Big Show trained there, you know, but like they trained for like 2 days because they're freaks and they just want to push them to TV. We were the first group in a long time where we're like all of us were all like pretty good hands, pretty good wrestlers, and that's why they all gave us contracts. They needed WWF at the time was killing it. Like they had a territory in OVW, and the bigger one was in Memphis. Kurt Angle was there. Like so, while they're growing all their homegrown talent. That's why they kind of took over in the late '90s, early 2000s, because they developed the young guys quicker, So they kind of jet lined us to the top to it, So it was a good experience, but it was just tough. That's why I say I really feel like I learned the work when I was in WWE and OVW.
Yep, gotcha. So I want to ask you about Mexico, man. Like, so wrestling, like, how nervous were you going there, and then what helped you kind of prosper because you blew up over there?
Well, get this. I'll tell the story about that. Is like I just talked about, going places with your friends. So Mexico was never in the plans for me. But in March of 2006, Chuck Palumbo and Johnny the Bull went over to work like some kind of show for Ultimo Dragon. He was in Mexico.
Yeah. Yep.
And they were working like an angle. So when they get back from their tour in Mexico, WWE calls Chuck back, and they hired Chuck back. So they were supposed to come back and work an angle in May of 2006. So obviously Chuck can't go now. So they needed another Italian figure because they were doing the FBI gimmick. They're full-blooded Italians. And that's why. So Johnny the Bull hits me up and said, "Hey, tag with me and be my partner." I said, "Okay." I didn't even know my name was Marco Corleone. My name there was Mark Corleone, and it was kind of cool. It worked. It just worked, and but it was something. It was for me, But like I said, on SmackDown, I hung with guys like fucking Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, my best friends and shit. And it's always had this knack for Latinos, I've gotten along with them. There's just, and I don't have a fucking lick of Latino in my blood, but I've always been friends, always, and that goes as long as Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. They're my best fucking friends, and so it just was meant to be, man. I came with Johnny the Bull, and we automatically were working tag matches against Alberto Del Rio, who was Dos Cartas, and Liz Mark Jr., who was in WCW, in late '90s WCW. Liz Mark Jr. So it was Liz Mark Jr. and Dos Cartas, who was Alberto Del Rio, against me and Johnny the Bull. And man, I got my friends with me again, And then Alberto Del Rio, he speaks English, so I didn't have that big culture shock of holy fuck, what do I do? Because we were going over spots in English, and I was with my friend, Johnny the Bull, that was kind of my day one boy in wrestling, So it was just easy. I have to say, just smooth transitions, and going from even country to country, it came off pretty easy, man. I must say. Thank God.
Felt that ease.
Yeah, and you feel that ease when it's meant to be,
Gotcha. Go ahead, Huge Pop.
I'm going to ask a question I probably ask every wrestler. I like to get their opinion on this. You talked about taking bumps. You talked about when back in the day there was carpet on a board. It wasn't no mat and all this stuff. And the phrase that I hear all the time from people that when they know that I'm a wrestling fan say, "Why do you watch that shit? It's so fake." It's fake. And I'm like, there's no way it's fake. I mean, yeah, sure. But so what's your take on when people say, "Man, what you do is so fake"?
Man, it's. I think everybody kind of knows because there's been enough shows or people that want to step in those types. When the power plant, we were known when WCW was hot and NWO was killing the game. We had news crews those 60-minute news nightly, ABC nightly news. They'd come do these little blurbs on our school, because WCW was super hot. So they'd come in, they'd see how torturous it was. And we were the guys that were the showing our physicality and stuff. So I just think that that helped a lot.
Gotcha. No, I know we didn't really have a lot of time. They want to keep you on too long, man. I don't know how much longer you got.
I've got to probably play. My wife's hitting hitting the work in about 10 minutes. So I got about 10 minutes.
Nikki D,
go.
did you have something you want to throw at him?
Yeah, you were talking about how you loved. Well, I feel like I already know the answer to this question, but of all the things that you went through, what you went through in the power plant, okay, being like a real trainee, not like Goldberg in the Big Show where they just work there. Like you went through the crap when people were quitting and walking away. You stayed, and to get to where you did on WCW, and then to go to WWE, and then to go to OVW, and then to do the stuff on SmackDown, and then Mexico, and all these things that you did. What was your I guess your highlight? What was your favorite part out of all of that? And then what was the lowest point for you? So it's kind of like a 2-in-1 question.
Okay, I'll give you the lowest point first. The lowest point I think was 2013 Mexico. My driver. I had a driver that would drive me to shows and stuff. He fell asleep at the wheel one night and flipped the truck I was in like 3 times. I didn't have a seatbelt on, so I escaped. But and I felt great. But the next day I woke up, my knee was super fucking huge and shit. So I tore my ACL basically, and I was in a soap opera at the time, so I didn't want to get the ACL surgery fixed because I would have had to stop the novella as well. It was a #1 hit TV show, so I didn't want to stop it. So I went old school on it. I strengthened the shit out of my quads and stuff. Till this day, it's still torn. It doesn't regenerate and stuff, But basically, I came back after 8 months, and I felt strong, but I had broken a metatarsal in my foot, a little bone. I came down, I jumped hard off of something, and I landed weird. And because I just got off 8 months of not wrestling, and Mexico is different. It's not like WWE where you have a guaranteed contract whether you work or not, or you're injured, you get paid. In Mexico, it's it's like the wild west. If you don't work, you don't get paid, and that's just the way it is. So I didn't want. I was low. I was a struggle for 8 months without working and shit. Luckily, I was in that TV show and shit. But so I was just kind of like, okay, I can get through this. I hurt my foot. I just tweaked it, and I would go day by day, just match for match, just trying to get through it. Take pain medicine and just fucking. And then one day, like 2 or 3 weeks into that injury, it just got so bad, I couldn't even walk anymore. Sure enough, I went to the hospital and it was infected. 3 broken metatarsals in my right foot. And I was in the hospital, lowest point, 14 to 15 days in the hospital. And at this time I didn't have sometimes I'd have a girlfriend or something, and I didn't meet my wife yet. So I really had nobody. It was just me, myself, and I, so it was very tough. It was very soul searching, and I got through it. And I'd say in lieu of that, probably the high point of all the stuff that went on with wrestling, I've done some cool stuff, and I love the life I live, but probably the high point of everything is my quest in Mexico when I was there. That I met my wife there, and I met my son. I met my son. Well, he was born there, so I met him when he was born.
Nice.
Yeah.
He was made in Mexico, and I met my wife there. I meant to say, and
Nice.
that's probably the high point. And it was a high point because if you heard me just tell the low point, I didn't have anybody, and in wrestling, that's the sad part is we go through these fucking injuries, man. And even though I think I did well health wise, down the road, you want somebody there,
Yep.
To be there, if you get broken down and stuff. And my support system became 5,000 times stronger when I met my wife in 2014, actually, pretty much a year later, after being in the hospital. And from that point on, I've had, it's been 9 years. We've been married 9 years now. So,
Nice.
And our baby's 6 years old. He's like Reek's height. So, but he's 6 years old.
Nice.
But so that's my high point. That's my high point. And, what's kind of cool too, a fun fact, in Mexico, my son Geronimo, he got baptized by Fray Tormenta, who is the real Nacho Libre, who Jack Black played in Nacho Libre. And
That's
so
cool.
that guy, he he was a real priest, and he baptized a wrestler. The guy Ray Bucanero, who's a wrestler there. Him and his wife are actually godmother and godfather to our son. They hooked it up with Fray Tormenta, and he baptized our son in a church over 500 years old with a mask on. So it was pretty dope. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet right there.
Wow.
So like those are kind of like the memories, you know, like the wrestling stuff is cool. You know, getting your hand raised, championships. Like I was the only American ever to win a heavyweight championship in the 89-year history of like CMLL in Mexico. You know, but those accolades come and go. Like, you know, this family's forever. Like I met my wife there and brought her back here, and you know, obviously my son was born in Mexico as well. So, and here's the thing, where I spent 14 days in the hospital, all fucked up and at a low point, my son was born 2 years later in the same hospital, you know, and I chose that hospital because of that was my support system. All those nurses and all those doctors, like, they were really fucking cool to me, and they brought me back to life, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they kept my spirits high, and when my wife got pregnant, I said, you know what, let's have it where I got, you know, I was put up for 2 weeks. I really enjoyed it. So there you go.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I like that.
If I can, Rico, before you go, I read or listened to an interview that you were in, Mr. Jindrak, and to go off what you just said, the question that they asked you was, what are 3 things in your life that you are grateful for? And you said, my family, peace of mind, and faith. And I just love that. I wrote that down. I was like, man. And then to hear you tell that story, that wrestling was cool, but this life is what I want.
Oh yeah.
So my question now, after I said that, is, do you have any advice for any up and coming talent that want to get into the business, that you could give them based on what you've experienced?
I'd say, first of all, take care of your body. First and foremost, take care of your body, because nothing's guaranteed. And you're seeing nowadays, like, I love the wrestling today, but like these guys like the Kenny Omegas and the fucking, they're going to have a short life of wrestling, you know, because they're taking these ridiculous bumps and falling on their necks and heads and shit. And like, and for me, like I said, I took care of myself. Guys took care of me when we wrestled and stuff, but like, just always be careful, you know, and when you're coming up don't be a sucker coming up in the independents and stuff. Don't fall through 100 chairs onto tacks for $20, you know, like don't sell yourself short. Do the shit the right way. Follow guys' paths like William Regal and Fit Finley and guys like you know, those Al Snow types, you know, who runs OVW now. Look at guys like that and see their career and how they take care of themselves. You know, look at some of the stars on TV now how they take care of themselves. You know, be those guys. You know, that's pretty much that. And have a fallback, have a backup plan. You know, I just think that's important always.
Thank you.
I like it. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Jindrak, man, we won't hold you up anymore. Really appreciate the time, brother. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you to you, man, and congratulations, you guys. Like, you know, moving forward with this is an awesome wrestling podcast and stuff. So, and you know, we'll connect obviously off air, but like, hopefully, I can bring you guys some of the contacts I know for former wrestlers and stuff, ex wrestlers that can come on your show as well. You know,
awesome. Man. I'm gonna play a song. I'm gonna play something to end the show. Then I guess we'll talk in the lobby.
Yes.
Sounds good. Yep.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody watching.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, guys. Thank you,
Thank
Freak, and thank you.